Hello, Happy New Year and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and I have before you today a Majorette Autobianchi A112. My plan is to resto mod this rather battered looking example by lowering it and giving it a fresh set of wheels, repainting it in a fresh colour and fixing the damaged plastics. In the process, I'll be finding out if there's any corrosion underneath that thinned yellow paint and what lurks within. The suspension clip and axles both look quite rusty. Here's how it would have looked when mint, just with the teledial wheels, and this is a real A112 Abarth. Abarth models often came with these wheels fitted, and Creative 164's Rotiform GTB reps should fit the bill. I'm choosing to replicate the sporty Abarth version simply because this Majorette design carries the Abarth Scorpion emblem on its bonnet and on each side. It was introduced by Majorette in 1984 and reflects the 6th generation of A112 which spanned 1982 to 1984. The first version was painted red and came with an orange tinted transparency. The model had a chunky black plastic lower portion that incorporated the grille, front bumper, side trim, wheel arches and rear bumper. This part also formed the interior, so it was quite a comprehensive moulding for such a small car. Its metal base had a tow hook protruding through the rear, and the plastic piece had an added bendable protrusion to help retain any trailers. The first issues carried the 3-spoke wheels like mine does, held in place by a metal clip that gave all Majorette models of this era lovely, soft, spongy suspension. As good as it is, I'll be losing that today to give this model a lower and firmer stance, enhancing its sporty credentials. The first red Majorette issue had white decals with green print on them, alongside A112 wording and an Abarth logo with a distinctive flash of yellow. The design remained the same for 1985, before switching to a yellow body for 1986, with the decals carrying over in a black and red colour scheme instead. Elsewhere, the transparency was now clear and the wheels could be the 3-spoke type or the teledial 8 dots. The A112 remained in Serie 200 until 1987. The next casting to carry its number 270 would be another Super Mini, the Renault Clio in 1991. Its discontinuation came 1 year after the real A112 had been replaced, though the casting did live on under a new guise until 1988. This had Majorette markings removed from its base and it was repackaged to be sold under the Globe Toys brand. This version was identical to the last Majorette issue, except for the decals being printed in green and black rather than red and black. The A112's history stretches back to 1969, and Autobianchis to 1955. The company was a joint venture between the bicycle and motorcycle manufacturer Bianchi, the Pirelli tyre company, and Fiat. Along with bicycles, Bianchi had historically built high-end luxury cars, but the company's factory was destroyed by bombing during World War II, bringing an end to production. Keen to return to vehicle manufacture, the company set about preparing studies in order to resume. It quickly became apparent they needed the clout of a strong partner, which is where industrial giants Fiat and Pirelli stepped in. A brand new factory was built, where Fiat would provide the technical base for the cars, Pirelli would supply the tyres, and Bianchi would build them. Autobianchi would seek to capitalise on the premium niche of the small car market, which at the time was occupied by coach builders building models on Fiat chassis. Their first car was the Bianchina, an upscale city car based on the Fiat 500, which rolled off the production line in 1957. It was followed up by the Stellina Spider in 1964, which was produced for 2 years only. Then came the Primula, Fiat's first transversely engined front-wheel drive car that launched under the Autobianchi name to test market reaction to it. The car had a favourable reception, so Fiat took the formula and ran with it. With the Bianchi motorcycle arm in trouble, the company sold its share of Autobianchi to Fiat in 1968. The following year proved pivotal for the brand. Fiat placed Autobianchi under the recently acquired Lancia marque, and production of the initial Bianchina model and the Primula came to an end. Two new models were launched for 1969, the 3-box A111 and the A112. The A111 was longer than the Primula it was based on, but would last only 3 years as Fiat quickly phased it out in favour of their 128. The A112 was based on a shrunken 128, subsequently sharing its underpinnings with the 127, which would follow a couple of years later. It was only available as a 3-door hatchback and was first offered with a 903cc overhead valve engine borrowed from the rear-engined rear-wheel drive Fiat 850. In the A112, it would drive the front wheels. It produced 41 horsepower, but this had increased to 46 by 1971, though this was claimed despite no mechanical changes having been made. By this time, the A112E, later A112 Elegant, had become available. This offered a contrasting coloured roof and improved seating, trim and equipment. Later Elegant models would receive a 5-speed gearbox instead of the standard 4. The 903cc engine was standard across the range, aside from the Abarth performance version. This had a more powerful 982cc 4-cylinder unit instead. In 1973, the car received a makeover, which included a new larger mesh grille and a rubber bumper with a chrome insert. There were changes to the seats and dashboard, plus new alloy wheel styles became available. The Elegant model was now no longer available in two-tone only paint jobs. Abarth models in two-tone had a black bonnet and its Scorpion logo on each flank was removed. A third series arrived in 1975, which saw the interior remodelled to offer 5 seats instead of 4. These models had larger rear vents and remodelled taillights. The Abarth engine capacity was bumped up to 1050cc, producing 70 horsepower, but the output on the base model dropped to 41, and the Elegant was reduced by 2 horsepower in 1976 due to emissions regulations. For 1977, the 4th generation A112 entered production. This had a taller roof, with the Elegant model receiving an enlarged 965cc engine, pushing out 47 horsepower. These had a new taillight design, though this would be short-lived as they were changed again on the 1979 5th iteration. It now had large black plastic cladding to the rear surrounding these new taillights, plus new side trim, bumpers, wheel arches and a new grille. The entry-level Normale model was renamed as the Junior, and an elite version was placed above the Elegant in the lineup. Some of the plastic additions were reversed for the 1982 6th generation, which I believe this model is based on. These had smoother bumpers, removal of the wheel arch trim, and a less heavy grille. The LX model became the top of the line offering with tinted windows, velvet seat trim, power windows, metallic paint, and a digital clock. The Elegant was discontinued. It began being marketed as a Lancia, which it had already been sold as in Sweden and Switzerland. The 7th generation car arrived in 1984, which remained mostly identical to the 6th gen, aside from restyled taillights that were joined by a reflective strip. The rear number plate location was lowered to the bumper. Most countries now sold A112s as Lancias through Lancia dealerships, with Italy, France and Israel the only countries continuing to use the Autobianchi name. A replacement had been developed and went on sale in 1985. This was the Autobianchi Y10, which was sold in most export markets as the Lancia Y10. Despite its arrival, an 8th generation A112 was produced in 1985. the range had been scaled back considerably, with only the junior model remaining on sale as the budget alternative to the Y10. It was just sold as the A112 without the junior badging. There were no other changes to the car, and it would remain in production until 1986. 1.25 million A112s were built in 17 years of production. Performance Abarth versions of the A112 first appeared in 1971. These were prepared by the motorsport division of Fiat, first with an increased stroke of the 982cc engine, teamed with a sporting exhaust, twin-choke carb, and a different camshaft. Then in 1975, when displacement was increased to 1050cc, power jumped from 58 to 70 horsepower, from a car weighing just 700 kilos or 1,540 pounds. It had an optional 5-speed gearbox from this year as well. From 1977, a one-make trophy called Campionato A112 Abarth was created, which adopted Group 1 racing rules. Several famous Italian rally drivers were winners of the championship. It remains a popular car to use in rallying events to date. Now we've reached the reassembly phase of today's build. The transparency has been fitted, the plastic piece has followed that in, and now all that remains is connecting the base with its rear tongue and slot fitment and its tapped front rivet posts screwed together. Lastly, I add in a couple of markings for the Autobianchi badge on the grille. Here is how the Majorette 270 Autobianchi A112 looked before I attempted to reinvent it. It was pretty shabby. Its paintwork had a rough finish and it was fairly scratched. The plastics were dull, plus it was broken on the front valance and the tow hook retainer was quite chewed up, literally. On top of that, the axles and suspension clip were all very rusty indeed. So this is what it's been turned into. It now has much larger 4-spoke wheels, reminiscent of the real Abarth wheels it might well have worn in period. The ride height has also been lowered to give it a squat appearance. It now carries a solid shade of red, which looks right at home on this A112. I've painted in some trim over the top of this to enhance the detail of Majorette's casting. I think that this is best represented on the rear panel of the car. At the front, I've fixed that broken valance, then repainted the plastic piece to revitalise it, making it look good as new. The window piece is also polished up really nicely, as it was a bit worse for wear before. Tell me what you think about my reimagination of this little Autobianchi down in the comments, and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.